ॐ शुक्लां भरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तः शान्तः शान्तिः। अगजानन पद्मार्कं गजाननमहर्निशम् अनेकदन्तं भक्तानाम् एकदन्तमुपास्महे। श्रीमहागणपतये नमः। गुरवे सर्वलोकानां भिषजे भवरोगिणां निधये सर्वविद्यानां श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। अस्मद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। ज्ञानानन्दमयं देवं निर्मलस्फटिकाकृतिम् आधारं सर्वविद्यानां श्रीहयग्रीवमुपास्महे। श्रीहयग्रीवमूर्तये नमः। सरस्वति नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणि विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा। श्रीमहासरस्वत्यै नमः। उमाकोमलहस्ताब्जसम्भावितललाटकं हिरण्यकुण्डलं वन्दे कुमारं पुष्करस्रजं। வெற்றிவேல் முருகனுக்கு ஹரஹரோஹரா. லோகவீரியம் மகாபூஜ்யம் சர்வரக்ஷாகரம் விபும் பார்வதி ஹிருதயானந்தம் சாஸ்தாரம் பிரணமாம்யகம். சுவாமியே சரணமையப்பா. வாகர்த்தாவிவ சம்பிரக்தௌ வாகர்த்த பிரதிபத்தயே ஜகதः பிதரௌ வந்தே பார்வதி பரமேஸ்வரௌ. ஸ்ரீ பார்வதி பரமேஸ்வராभ्यां நமः. कोमलं पूजयन् वेणुं श्यामलोऽयं कुमारकः वेदवेद्यं परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। अस्मद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। पीताम्बरं करविराजितचक्रशङ्खकौमोदकी सरसिजं करुणासमुद्रं राधासहायम् अतिसुन्दरमन्दहासं वातालयेशम् अनिशं हृदि भावयामि। कृष्णो रक्षतु मां चराचरगुरुः कृष्णं नमस्ये सदा। कृष्णेनैव सुरक्षितोऽहमसकृत् कृष्णाय दत्तं मनः। कृष्णादेव समुद्भवो मम विभो कृष्णस्य दासोऽस्म्यहं। कृष्णे भक्तिरचञ्चलास्तु भगवन् हे कृष्ण तुभ्यं नमः। श्रीगुरुवायूरप्पा शरणं नम्राणां सन्निधत्ते सततमपि पुरस्तैरनभ्यर्थितानपि आर्तान् कामानजस्रं वितरति परमानन्दसान्द्रां गतिं च। इत्थं निःशेषलभ्यो निरवधिकफलः पारिजातो हरे त्वं क्षुद्रं तं शक्रवाटी द्रुममभिलषति व्यर्थमर्त्यव्रजोऽयं। श्रीगुरुवायूरप्पा शरणं श्रीभट्टपादम् अनिशं हृदि भावयामि। वंशीविभूषितकरात् नवनीरदाभात् पीताम्बरात् अरुणबिम्बफलादरोष्टात् पूर्णेन्दुसुन्दरमुखात् अरविन्दनेत्रात् कृष्णात् परं किमपि तत्त्वमहं न जाने। കൈരണ്ടും കൂപ്പി ഞാൻ വീണ്ടുമീറക്കുന്നു നീരജലോചനാനിന്നോടായി ഏതീനു മഞ്ഞനെ കുമ്പിടേണ്ടാത്തോരു രീതിയിൽ നീ എന്നെ പാലിക്കുന്നായി. കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ. Good morning, everyone. So we have to do a review of 45 from stanza 6 to the end, I think, and then 46. Hari, Ninga, can you do one half, and then Gayatri, you can do the other one. Hari, Ninga 45 பண்றீங்களா 6 ல இருந்து?
Sure. From 6th stanza, yeah?
Yeah, from 6th stanza, yeah.
Okay. ததனு சரணசாரி தாரகைः சாகமாரான் நிலையதிஷு கேலன் பாலசாபல்யசாலி பவனாசுக விலாலான் பஸ்தகான் சானுதாவன் கதமபி கிருதஹாசைர் கோபகைர் வாரிதோபூஹு ஹலதர சகிதத்வம் யத்ர யத்ரோ பயாதோ விவசபதித நேத்ரா தத்ர தத்ரைவ கோப்யः விகலித கிருஹருத்யா விஸ்ரும் விஸ்ரும்தபத்யப்ரித்யாः முரஹர முஹயந்தாகுலா நித்யமாசன் பிரதிநவ நவநீதம் கோபிகா தச்சமிச்சன் கலபத முகாயன் கோமலம் கோபி நிர்த்யன் சதய யுவதி லோகைர் அர்ப்பிதம் சர்ப்பிரசன் क्वचन नव विभक्त्वं तुक्तमप्या पिबस्त्वं मम खलु पलिहेः यासनं जातमास्ताम् इह पुनरबलाभ्याम् अक्रदू नैव गुर्वे इति विहितमधिकिं देव संयज्य याज्ञाम् तदिकृतमरस्त्वं चारुणा चोरणेन.
The second line middle word மட்டும் இஹ புனர பலானாம் அக்ரதோ. Second line.
புனரபலானாம் அக்ரதோ நைவ குர்வே. தவததி கிருதமோக்ஷே கோஷயோஷோ ஜனானாம் அபஜத ஸ்ருதி ரோஷோ நாவகாசாம் நசோஹக ஹிருதயமபி முஷித்வா ஹர்ஷன் சிந்தௌ ஞாதஸ்வம் சமமசமய ரோஹான் வாதகே ஹாதிநாதா.
The first line like yosho you said is yosha yosha jananam.
Gosha yosho jananam.
Yosha jananam.
Gosha jananam.
Yeah.
Saga krede vidum vilokyam balamityam vamsadasam muhuhu sambrartha yada dada tadiya vasacha pratshipto bahotvayi chitram deva sasi sade karamahat kimapramuhe sambadaha jyodir mandala puridahila vabuhu prahara virat rubadam
praga virat rupatam. Last word praga virat
rubada kim padedamidi sambrama paje menam brahmashnave shanamamum parimajjai tadam mayayam punastanaya mohamayim vidanvan ananda chinmaya jaganmaya vahirohat.
The third line, first word mayam. I think you said mayayam. Just mayam. No, just mayam punastanaya.
Mayam punastanaya mohamayim.
Dasakam 46 Vishwarupa Darshanam Varnanam. ऐदेव पुरा किल त्वयि स्वयमुत्थानशये स्तनन्दये परिजुन्बनतो व्यपावृते वदने विश्वं जष्टवल्लवी पुनरप्यत बालिकै समं त्वयि लीला निरते जगत्पते फलसञ्जय वञ्जन कृता तव मृद्भोजन मुच्चुर अर्भकाः.
And the last word bhojanam long uchur arbhakaah.
Okay. तव मृदु भोजनम उच्चुर अर्भकाः.
Uchur arbhakaah.
तव मृद भोजन उच्चुरु.
இல்ல அந்த ஊ வந்து லாங் ஊ, சு வந்து ஸ்மால் ஊ, சு ஊ. சோ ஊச்சுர் அர்பகாஹ.
ஊச்சுர் அர்பகாஹ. ऐते प्रलयावधौ विभो क्षितितो यादि समस्तभीक्ष भक्षिणः मृदुपाशनतोरुजा भवेत् इति भीता जननी चुकोपसा अयि अयि दुर्विनायात्मक त्वया किमु मृत्सा बत वत्स भक्षिता इति मातृगिरं चिरं विभो वितथां त्वं प्रति जग्निषे हसन् अयि ते विनिक्षिते विमति विमतिश्चेदवदनं विधार्यताम् धार्यताम् इति इति मातृविभर्त्सितो मुखं विकसत्पद्मनिभं व्यदारयः अपि मृल्लव दर्शनोत्सुकां जननीं तां बहु तर्पयन्निव पृथिवीं निखलां न केवलं भुवनान्नप्यखिलान्यदीदृशः कुहचित् वनम् अम्बुदीः क्वचित्
Ambudih kvachit.
कुहचित् वनम् अम्बुधि क्वचिदिम्र कुहुचिद्रसातलम् मनुजादनुजाः क्वचित् सुरा ददृशे किं न तदा त्वदानने कलशा
On the first line after the comma, kvachidabhram kuhachidrasat. And the word kvachidabhram,
क्वचिदम्रम्
kvachidabhram, dabhram.
क्वचिदम्रम्
Yeah, da and bra, bhram.
क्वचिद्भ्रम् क्वचिद्भ्रम्
Kvachidabhram, kvachidabhram.
क्वचिदब्रम्
Yeah,
क्वचिदब्रम्
correct. Kvachidabhram. Okay. And then the second line, the suraha. There's a visarga we added there in the second line.
क्वचित् सुरालल्या
Suraha, ama. Adun
सुराः
suraha.
ओके ददृशे किं न ददा त्वदानने कलशाम्बुधिशायिनं पुनः पदादिवासिनं स्वपुरश् निजार्भकात्मकं कतिधा त्वं न दर्दश त्वां न ददर्श त्वां न ददर्श सामुखे विकसद्भुवने मुखोदरे ननु भूयोऽपि तथा विदाननः अनया स्फुटमीक्षितो भवान् अवस्थां जगतां
Bhavan and a comma, in comma, then anavastam.
अनया स्फुटमीक्षितो भवान् अनवस्थां जगतां बतातनोत् द्रुततत्त्वधियं तदाक्षणं जननीं तां प्रणयन् मोहयन् स्तनमम्भ दिशेतु पासजन् भगवन् अद्भुत बाल पाहि माम्
And the last word you can take it as Bhagavan Adbhuta.
भगवन् अद्भुत बाल पाहि माम्
Krishnaaya
कृष्णाय
Parabhamane.
परब्रह्मणे नमः sorry
Yes. Okay, so we'll start with 47. Let's see what I had today. So Madhavi, you can be student, and Hema, you can be student. So 47, 48 are connected. So it's the same thing that is spread over to the Shakam. So 47 is Ulukala Bandhana Varnanam. Ulukala refers to the mortar in which they grind all the grain. So that is the mortar. So Ulukala Bandhana is tying to that mortar. Sansa 1. Ekada dhadivimathakarinim मातरं समुपसेदिवान् भवान् स्तन्यलोलुपतया निवारयन् अङ्कमेत्यपपिवान् पयोधरौ. So this is one day. So last class we saw about Krishna trying to eat the mud, and then how he showed the entire thing into Yashoda, And then she saw all the information, she got all the knowledge, but in a fraction of a second, she forgot everything. And then she came back to being a mother, because the whole purpose of Yashoda's incarnation is to be a mother, not to get knowledge, right? Because that she would have already had. So that's why she took this birth. So in 47, so one day, right? So Krishna, I think approximately 3 years of age. I don't know his exact age, but around that time frame, right? So Yashoda, like they said, Nandagopas, they deal with all the milk and byproducts of milk. So one day when she was busy churning this buttermilk to get butter. So she was sitting down and they had this rod, and which they had the churning rod, and she was in churning with it. And then even when she was doing that, it is said that she always used to think about all the activities that Krishna is doing, right? So even as a mother, you always think about your child. In her case, the child happens to be Krishna. So she's always in thinking about Krishna every single time. So at that time, Krishna then comes. He's a small boy still, right? So he comes there because he's hungry. So what does a child do when he's hungry? He doesn't care what the mother is doing. He first comes and lies down and he wants to drink milk. So when Yashoda is just churning, he just comes and then he tries to hold on to the rod and prevents her from churning the rod because he wants to drink milk. So because that's what is important, so she puts him on her lap and then she starts feeding him milk, and at the same time she starts churning the buttermilk right now. Ekada dhadi vimatha karini, mataram samupasedivan bhavan stanya lolupataya nivarayan. You will have a double na there. Just put first in there, nivarayan, comma. Next word will start with the a. Ankametya papivan payodharo. Ekada dhadi vimathakarinhi mataram samupasedivan bhavan stanya lolupataya nivarayan ankametya papivan payodharo.
एकदा दधिविमाथकारिणीं मातरं समुपसेदिवान् भवान् स्तन्यलोलुपतया निवारयन् अङ्कमेत्य पपिवान् पयोधरौ एकदा दधिविमाथकारिणीं मातरं समुपसेदिवान् भवान् स्तन्यलोलुपतया निवारयन् अङ्कमेत्य पपिवान् पयोधरौ
एकदा दधिविमातकारिणीं मातरं समुपसेदिवान् भवान् स्तन्यलोलुपतया निवारयन् अङ्कमेत्य पपिवान् पयोधरौ एकदा दधिविमातकारिणीं मातरं समुपसेदिवान् भवान् स्तन्यलोलुपतया निवारयन् अंकमेत्य पपिवान् पयोधरौ
अर्धपीतकुचकुड्मले त्वहि स्निग्धहासमधुराननाम्भुजे दुग्धमीशदहने परिसृतं धर्तुमाशु जननी जगामते. So, like any small boy, in Krishna's case also, when he starts drinking the milk, he always has a smile in his face because he's happy that he is getting fed. So he was excited that, he's beginning to drink milk, and he was having that smile. Suddenly, Yashoda remembered something. Remembered that she had kept some milk in the what do you call, in the fire, right, to heat in the kitchen, and she had forgot to turn it off because she could smell that something was burning. And at the time, she suddenly remembered, oh my God, I had kept some milk to heat, which I forgot to turn off. So what she does is she immediately puts the baby down, Krishna down, because she has to go attend to that milk, right? So he says, all this, Krishna, you have planned because you want Yashoda to go out of that place. So anyway, with that, she ends up leaving the baby right there and she goes off to turn the milk off. Ardha Pita Kucha Kudmale Twai. So Ardha Pita, you had just had only half of what you normally have. So by the time, like he had not even finished drinking his milk at that time. Twai, comma. Snigdha Hasa Madhurananambuje Dugdhamisha Dahane Parisrutam, comma. Dhartumashu Janani Jagamate. अर्धपीतकुचकुड्मले त्वहि स्निग्धहासमधुराननाम्भुजे दुग्धमीश दहने परिश्रुतं धर्तुमाशु जननी जगामते
अर्धपीतकुचकुड्मले त्वयि स्निग्धहासमधुराननाम्बुजे दुग्धमीशदहने परिसृतं धर्तुमाशु जननी जगामते अर्धपीतकुचकुड्मले त्वयि स्निग्धहासमधुराननाम्बुजे दुग्धमीशदहने परिसृतं धर्तुमाशु जननी जगामते
अर्धपीतकुचकुड्मले त्वयि स्निग्धहासमधुराननाम्बुजे दुग्धमीशदहने परिसृतं दर्तुमाशु जननी जगामते अर्धपीतकुचकुड्मले त्वयि स्निग्धहासमधुराननाम्बुजे दुग्धमीशदहने परिसृतं दर्तुमाशु जननी जगामते
सामीपीतरसभङ्गसङ्गतक्रोधभारपरिभूतचेतसा मन्तदण्डमुपगृह्य पाटितं हन्त देवधदिभाजनं त्वया. So naturally, like she did what she was right because she had to take care of the milk. But as a 3-year-old boy, the baby was very upset because he had only drunk half the milk. So he was very upset that his mother had other priorities, right? So when Yashoda left Krishna and went, he then of course starts crying, all false tears, and then he gets very upset and angry about it. So what do kids do when they're angry? They grab what is next to them and throw at something. So he takes the churning rod, which is actually there, and he throws it at the pot, the pot of butter, which is actually a buttermilk, which is actually getting collected there, and then he throws it at it, and naturally that thing breaks, and all the thing then spills out there. Sami Peter. So here, no, and I don't know this, but there's an interesting story. I don't know how many of you know Anantarama Dikshitar. He's a very famous narrator of Narayaneeyam. Like you can see a picture of him in Guruvayur. So he used to tell the story at this point that he said that in Bhagavatam, that I know in Bhagavatam it said he took a stone. The Krishna took a stone and then threw it, right? But when Bhattatri wrote it, Anantarama Dikshitar said Krishna took the churning rod and then threw it. Then suddenly Bhattatri realized that, oh my God, did he really throw a stone or did he actually throw a churning rod? So he had that confusion. So for those of you who saw the Agre Pashyami event, which happened in Chicago, right? They talked about how at certain times Bhattatri used to get a vision of what actually happened. So at that time, he saw a vision saying that it doesn't matter, it was a stone. It looked like a stone from one angle, it looked like a stick from the other angle. So it doesn't matter, right? So he didn't have to change what he wrote. The net was the pot was broken, right? So there's a subtle difference between what is in Bhagavatam and here, but Sami Pita Rasa Bhanga Sangata, put a plus, Krodha Bhara Haribhuta Chetasa. So that line is together. Manta Dandam Upagrihya. I'm just breaking at that ma. Dandam Upagrihya Patitam, comma, Hanta Deva Dhadi Bhajanam Tvaya. सामीपीतरसभङ्गसङ्गतक्रोधभारपरिभूतचेतसा मन्तदण्डमुपगृह्य पाटितं हन्त देवधदिभाजनं त्वया.
सामिपीतरसभङ्गसङ्गतक्रोधभारपरिभूतचेतसा मन्थदण्डमुपगृह्य पाटितं हन्त देवदधिभाजनं त्वया. सामिपीतरसभङ्गसङ्गतक्रोधभारपरिभूतचेतसा मन्थदण्डमुपगृह्य पाटितं हन्त देवदधिभाजनं त्वया.
सामीपीतरसभङ्गसङ्गतक्रोधभारपरिभूतचेतसा मन्तदण्डमुपगृह्य पाटितं हन्त देवदधिभाजनं त्वया. सामीपीतरसभङ्गसङ्गतक्रोधभारपरिभूतचेतसा मन्तदण्डमुपगृह्य पाटितं हन्त देवदधिभाजनं त्वया.
Suppose Uchala Dhvanitamuchakaisnadha Sannishamya Janani Samadruta Tvadyasho Visarabadda Darshasa Sadya Eva Dhadi Vistritam Kshitau. So Yashoda, who had gone to turn that milk off, suddenly she hears a big noise, a noise of something breaking. So she suddenly remembered, okay, I left my 3-year-old there. So she immediately comes rushing. She comes rushing and she sees there that the pot of buttermilk is broken, or the curd is broken there. It's spilled all over the floor and Krishna is missing from action there. So she naturally assumed as a mother, definitely Krishna is the one who has actually done it because he's run away from here. And then Bhattaripat says, no, just like Krishna, how your fame spreads all over the universe. Similarly, the dhadi here, the buttermilk and yogurt was spread all over the floor. She sees everything has spilled out of the pot right now. Uchalad dhvanitam. So you can break at that ma there. Dhvanitam uchakais tada, comma, sannishamya janani samadruta twadya visara Vat dadarsha, so double the there, vat dadarsha sa, comma, sadya eva dhadi vistrutam kshitau. Uchala dhvanitam uchchakaistadha sannishamya janani samadhruta tvadyasho visara vaddadarsha sa sadya eva dhadi vistrutam kshitau.
उच्चलध्वनितमुच्चकैस्तदा संनिशम्य जननी समादृता त्वद्यशो विसरवद्ददर्शसा सद्य एव दधिविस्तृतं क्षितौ उच्चलध्वनितमुच्चकैस्तदा संनिशम्य जननी समादृता त्वद्यशो विसरवद्ददर्शसा sadya eva dadhi vistrutam kshitau.
Madhavi, that first line after the comma, it's a double na there. San nishamya, not an im sound. It's an in sound. San nishamya.
No. That's a double ni. Okay.
Na.
Samnishamya.
Yeah.
Okay. Sannishamya. Okay.
Uchchaladvanitamuchchakaistada sannishamya janani samadruta tvadyasho visaravaddadarsha sadya eva dadi vistritam kshitau uchchaladvanitamuchchakaistada sannishamya janani samadruta tvadyasho visaravaddadarsha Sadya eva dadi vistritam kshitau.
Answer 5. Vedamarga parimarkitam rusha twama vikshya parimargayantyasau santadarsha sukrutin yulukhale diyamana navanita motave. So now she has to start looking for Krishna. Now, and then, it says, Bhattaripat says here that there are so many yogis, right, who go study all these who perform all these austerities, who chant so many Vedas to try to locate you, to try to find where you are, Bhagavan, and they still have to take so many births and they have to do so many austerities to find it. How did Yashoda think she can very quickly find Krishna? But she was able to find because Krishna had stepped on that buttermilk when he ran away. So she could see his footprints. Like in Krishna Jayanti, we put Krishna's footprints entering into the house. Similarly, she could see those footprints of Krishna, right? Who from that point to where he had actually run away. So she could naturally trace and go where he was. And then she goes and she finds that he was hiding in a storeroom where they grind the grains. So the mortar, which is where they grind those grains and store them, he was sitting on top of that and he had all the butter in his hand, feeding the ulu otave. Otave refers to a cat. So he was feeding the cats and monkeys there. So at that time, he was eating those butter. He was also feeding those butter to the cats. And then the moment Krishna saw that Yashoda is coming, he then starts running away from there. Veda marga parimargitam rusha, comma, twama vikshya parimarga yantyasau. Sandadarsha Sukrutin Yulukhale, comma, Diyamana Navanita Modave. So Navaneetam refers to butter. Otave refers to a cat. So giving the cat the butter there. Vedamarga parimargitam rusha tvamavikshya parimargayantyasau sandadarsha sukrutin yulukhale diyamana navanitamotave.
वेदमार्गपरिमार्गितं वृषा त्वामवीक्ष्य परिमार्गयन्त्यसौ सन्ददर्श सुकृतिन्युलूखले खले दीयमाननवनीतमोतवे वेदमार्गपरिमार्गितं वृषा त्वामवीक्ष्य परिमार्गयन्त्यसौ सन्ददर्श सुकृतिन्युलूखले सन्ददर्श सुकृतिन्युलूखले दीयमाननवनीतमोतवे.
You got it. It is
Yeah. So can you say that
Sukrutin
again?
yulukale. So Sandadarsha Sukrutin yulukale.
Okay. Okay. Tinyu. Okay. Sandadarsha sukrutinyulukale.
Yeah.
वेदमार्गपरिमार्गितं वृषा त्वामवीक्ष्य परिमार्गयन्त्यसौ सन्ददर्श सुकृतिन्युलूकले दीयमाननवनीतमोतवे वेदमार्गपरिमार्गितं वृषा त्वामवीक्ष्य परिमार्गयन्त्यसौ सन्ददर्श सुकृतिन्युलूकले दीयमाननवनीतमोतवे.
So for any of you interested in Sanskrit, that word is Sukrutini, the one who has done good deeds. Krita is to do, Su is good. Sukrutini, the one who has done good deeds, saw him sitting on Ulukale. So that's where the Sukrutini and Ni and U is becoming that new sound there. So stanza 6. Tvam pragrihya bata bhiti bhavana bhasurana sarojamashusam rosha rushita mukhi sakhi puro bandhanaya rasanamupadade. So as a mother, she's first of all, she's angry that Krishna has broken all that stuff out, and all the work that she has done has gone to waste right now of churning, and now he's run away from her and then trying to feed all of this to the cats. So she then starts chasing because Krishna now starts running. So Yashoda also starts chasing, but of course he's a 3-year-old boy, he can run super fast. So it talks about how she's getting so tired, her hair is, things are coming off, the flowers are falling, and then she's unable to catch him. And finally, when she catches him, and then, Krishna then tries to, here it says, that I'm looking for a specific word. Anyway, so he then tries to, cry. He tries to act as if he's afraid and tries to cry because of his, it says all the eye, the kajal he had put on his face, all goes all over his face because he's crying, right? He's pretending to cry. So he says, looking at this, all the gods, everybody's saying, Krishna, what Leela you are doing? Why do you have to act like all of these things? And then putting this kajal all over your face, pretending to be afraid. Anyway, so with that, Yashoda then finally, she says that, I'm done with you, because like you are just absolute trouble, right? You broke all these things, you run away, and now you're hiding and you're trying to do all this. And then she says, I am going to tie you because I'm going to give you a timeout essentially, right? She says, I'm going to tie you up so you don't trouble me when I have work to do, and you also don't get to play with your friends. So with that, she then decides to tie Krishna there right now. Tvam pragrihya bata bhiti bhavana, put a plus, bhasuranana sarojamashu sa rosha rushita mukhi sakhi puro, bandhanaya rashanam upadade. Tvam pragrihya bata bhiti bhavana bhasurana sarojamashu sa rosha rushita mukhi sakhi puro bandhanaya rasanamupadade.
त्वां प्रगृह्य बत भीतिभावना भासुरानन सरोजमाशु सा रोषरूषितमुखी सखी पुरो बन्धनाय रशनामुपाददे. त्वां त्वां प्रगृह्य बत भीतिभावना भासुरानन सरोजमाशु सा रोषरूषितमुखी सखी पुरो बन्धनाय रशनामुपाददे
त्वां प्रगृह्य बत भीतिभावना भासुरानन सरोजमाशु सा रोषरूषितमुखी सखी पुरो बन्दनाय रशनामुपाददे त्वां प्रगृह्य बत भीतिभावना त्वां प्रगृह्य बत भीतिभावना भासुरानन सरोजमाशु सा रोषरूषितमुखी सखी पुरो बन्दनाय रशनामुपाददे.
7 बन्धुमिच्छति यमेव सज्जनस्तं भवन्तमयि बन्धुमिच्छति सा नियुज्य रशना गुणान् बहून् द्व्यङ्गुलोनमखिलं किलैक्षत. She says, okay, I'm done. I'm going to tie you up to this very mortar, right, that you were sitting and eating in. So with that, it says, how can you tie Krishna down, right? You cannot. But even the greatest of people who try to tie Krishna down to one place so they can focus and meditate, they cannot do it. Now, Yashoda decides that I'm going to tie you up with a rope. So with that, she takes a rope and she tries to tie him. When she tries to tie him, she's falling short of Dvi Angulam, 2 fingers short. So the rope is just 2 fingers short for her to be able to tie it. So Krishna here has already shown at this age itself, with whether it be Putana, Sakatasura, Trinavarta, all of that, and the previous Dashakam showing him everything. She says, I'm not done yet. Until I decide that I'm ready to be tied, you are not going to be able to tie me, right? So that is the thing that Krishna wants to show here. So she then this is not tying, she takes a second rope and she tries to do it with that. Even that, she's not able to tie it. Then she tries to tie these 2 ropes. And no matter what combination she ties, she's always falling short of Dvi Angulam. She's always falling short of 2 fingers. Just 2 fingers width is falling short of it. Bandhum Ichhati Yameva Sajjanas, put a plus. Tam Bhavantamai Bandhum Ichhati, long E. Sa Niyujya Rashana Gunan Bahun, comma. Dvyangulonam Akhilam. You can break at that ma. Dvyangulonam Akhilam Kilaikshata. बन्धुमिच्छति यमेव सज्जनस्तं भवन्तमयि बन्धुमिच्छति सा नियुज्य रशना गुणान् बहून् द्व्यङ्गुलोनमखिलं किलैक्षत.
बन्धुमिच्छति यमेव सज्जनस्तं भवन्तमयि बन्धुमिच्छति सा नियुज्य रशना गुणान् बहून् द्व्यङ्गुलोनमखिलं किलैक्षत. बन्धुमिच्छति यमेव सज्जनस्तं भवन्तमयि बन्धुमिच्छति सा नियुज्य रशना गुणान् बहून् द्व्यङ्गुलोनमखिलं किलैक्षत.
बन्धुमिच्छति यमेव सज्जनस्तं भवन्तमयि बन्धुमिच्छति सा नियुज्य रशनागुणान् बहून् द्व्यङ्गुलोनमखिलं किलैक्षता. बन्धुमिच्छति यमेव सज्जनस्तं भवन्तमयि बन्धुमिच्छति सा नियुज्य रशनागुणान् बहून् द्व्यङ्गुलोनमखिलं किलैक्षता.
The last word, kilaikshata, just no R sounded then, just stop. Stanza 8. विस्मितोत्स्मित सखी जनेक्षितां स्विन्न सन्न वपुषं निरीक्ष्यतां नित्यमुक्त वपुरप्यहो हरे बन्धमेव कृपयान्वमन्यथाः. This is whatever rope she's trying or how many other ropes she tries, she always seems to be falling short. So, there are other sakhis, there are other gopikas who are there, who are sitting and laughing, right, at the struggle that Yashoda is having, saying, how can you not even tie your son together? like, why are you struggling so much? But she only knows, she doesn't know why any rope she picks, she's not able to do it, right? So with that, she's like sweating. She's like, her whole body is, and all the flowers, she says everything is falling off because she's panicking right now. All her friends are sitting there and laughing. So at that point, Krishna, you are Nitya Mukta. You are always free. Nobody can tie you down, right? However, if you remember from the Ambarisha Charitram, which we saw in Dasakam 33, where it says, when Narayana tells Ambarisha, Bhuyo bhavannilayametya munim namantam proche bhavan hamrishe nanu bhakta dasaha. He says, I am a servant to my greatest of devotees. So I will get bound by the greatest of my devotees. They can absolutely tie me down, right? So when Krishna finally sees the struggle his mother was having, who's the greatest of the devotees, because she's got the opportunity to be the mother of Krishna. So he says, I will tie myself down, right? So you don't have to struggle. So with that, when Krishna himself decides that I am going to surrender to you because you are my greatest of devotee, Yashoda was finally able to put the final knot. And with that, finally, she was able to tie Krishna out to the mortar. Bismitotsmita sakhi janekshitam, स्विन्न सन्न वपुषम निरीक्ष्यताम नित्य मुक्त वपुरप्यहो हरे, बंधमेव कृपयान्वमन्यथाः. That's one word.
Rajeshji, in the second line, the first word திரும்ப சொல்றேளா?
नित्य मुक्त वपुरप्यहो हरे, बंधमेव कृपयान्वमन्यथाः.
Rajesh's first line, second part, swin and the split
Okay, there are the two places double na is coming there. Swinna sanna vapusham nirikshetam.
Got it.
Vismitotsmita sakhi janekshitam swinna sanna vapusham nirikshetam nityamukta vapurapyaho hare bandhameva kripayanvamanyathaः.
विस्मितोत्स्मितसखी जनेक्षितां स्विन्नसन्नवपुषं निरीक्ष्यतां नित्यमुक्तवपुरप्यहो हरे बन्धमेव कृपयान्वमन्यथाः. विस्मितोत्स्मितसखी जनेक्षितां स्विन्नसन्नवपुषं निरीक्ष्यतां नित्यमुक्तवपुरप्यहो हरे बन्धमेव कृपयान्वमन्यथाः.
विस्मितोत्स्मितसखी जनेक्षितां स्विन्नसन्नवपुषं निरीक्ष्यतां नित्यमुक्तवपुरप्यहो हरे बन्धमेव कृपयान्वमन्यताः. विस्मितोत्स्मितसखी जनेक्षितां स्विन्नसन्नवपुषं निरीक्ष्यतां नित्यमुक्तवपुरप्यहो हरे बन्धमेव कृपयान्वमन्यताः.
That's a nine. Stihyatam chiramulu khale khale tyagata bhavanameva sayadha pragulu kalabilantare tadha sarpirarpitamadhanna vastitha. So finally, because she is able to tie Krishna there, she says, okay, this is your timeout, right? So till I'm done with all my work, I want you to be just standing there, completely tied, not being able to move. And with that, Yashoda then goes away to the kitchen. So at the time, Krishna then remains standing there. However, he had still some butter with him, which he had kept in that mortar when he had previously stole. So he was just happily standing there, continuing to eat that butter when Yashoda had gone. Stiyatam chiramulu khale tyagata. So we're going to say that line together. In case any of your books have kaleti and agata, then it's just a join. We are doing tyagata as one word. Okay. So tyagata bhavanameva sa yada pragulukhala vilantare tada, sarpirarpitam, breaking at that ma, sarpirarpitam adanna vastithaha. स्थीयतां चिरमुलूखले खले त्यागता भवनमेव सा यदा प्रागुलूखलबिलान्तरे तथा सर्पिरर्पितमदन्नवास्थिताः
स्थीयतां चिरमुलूखले खले त्यागता भवनमेव सा यदा प्रागुलूखलबिलान्तरे तदा सर्पिरर्पितमदन्नवास्थिताः स्थीयतां चिरमुलूखले खले त्यागता भवनमेव सा यदा प्रागुलूखलबिलान्तरे तदा सर्पिरर्पितमदन्नवास्थिताः
स्थीयतां चिरमुलूकले खले त्यागता भवनमेव सा यदा प्रागुलूखलबिलान्तरे तदा सर्पिरर्पितमदन्नवास्थिताः स्थीयतां चिरमुलूकले खले त्यागता भवनमेव सा यदा प्रागुलूखलबिलान्तरे तदा सर्पिरर्पितमदन्नवास्थिताः
यद्यपाशसुगमो विभो भवान् संयतः किमु सपाशयानया एवमादिदिविजैरभिष्टुतो वातनाथ परिपाहि मां गधात्. So wrapping up this dashakam saying that, the word pasham means in Sanskrit, it could just mean a rope. It could also mean desires which bind us like a rope, right? So it has two different meanings. So he says, you, Krishna, can only be bound when somebody has apasham, means somebody who does not have any material desires, who are not bound by anything material, they can bind you down. But however, Yashoda was able to bind you down with a pasham, which is a rope. He's just playing with words here, saying you can only bind Krishna with apasham, which is no desires, but she's able to bind you with pasham, which is a rope. So with that, then with this dashakam comes to an end, saying, with this, Guru Arapa, please eradicate all my ailments as well. Yadya pasha sugamo vibho bhavan, samyataha is there, put a ich sound. Samyatah kimu sapashayanaya, one word. Evamadi divijair abhishtuto. So divijay, so you can break at that ra, divijair and abhishtuto. I don't know if I said this before, but in Tamil, abhishtu, they say it as if it's a bad word. But in Sanskrit, abhishtuto means to praise. So here, so divijair refers to the gods. So the gods are praising you. So divijair abhishtuto, vathanatha परिपाहि मां गदात्. यद्यपाशसुगमो विभो भवान् संयतः किमु सपाशयानया एवमादिदिविजैरभिष्टुतो वातनाथ परिपाहि मां गदात्.
यद्यपाशसुगमो विभो भवान् संयतः किमु सपाशयानया एवमादिदिविजैरभिष्टुतो वातनाथ परिपाहि मां गदात्. यद्यपाशसुगमो विभो भवान् संयतः किमु सपाशयानया एवमादिदिविजैरभिष्टुतो वातनाथ परिपाहि मां गतात्.
यद्यपाशसुगमो विभो भवान् संयतः किमु सपाशयानया एवमादिदिविजैरभिष्टुतो वातनाथ परिपाहि मां गदात्. यद्यपाशसुगमो विभो भवान् संयतः किमु सपाशयानया एवमादिदिविजैरभिष्टुतो वातनाथ परिपाहि मां गदात्.
Krishnaya Parabrahmane Namaha. Okay, we'll switch. Usha, you can be a student, and Divya, you can be a student. Dashakam 48, which is a continuation of this. Yamalarjuna Bhanjana Varnanam. I'll tell you what the meanings of those words are as we go through this. Stanza 1. Muda suraughaistvamudhara sammadhaihi udiryadamodarayithyabhishtutah mridudara swairamulukhale laganne aduratodhvau kakubhabudaikshatah. Like I said, as we go through this Krishna Avataram, the meanings of the various names of Krishna will come. So we first saw the meaning of Krishna in Dasakam 44. So here, he says here, now Krishna, you are being called as Damodara, because Dama means a rope, Udara is stomach. So Damodara is the one who's tied with a rope around his stomach. So with that, now that you are tied like that and on the ulukala with your rope around your stomach, you are now Damodara from here on. So you are just standing there. Mother Yashoda has already gone to the kitchen. So when you're there, you looked outside and then you saw two Yamala Arjuna trees. Arjuna means big. Yamala Arjuna is just two, it's like massive two big trees. So, like they always have this landmarks, right? They say you go there, you turn right, you'll see this temple or something. So for Nandagopa's house, this Yamalarjuna trees have been there for thousands of years. Nobody knew how long these trees have been there. So it's always a identification of Nandagopa's houses. You'll see these two Yamalarjuna trees standing in the compound, right? So it's been there for so many years, very old trees and very massive size trees were there. So you then see that those two trees are there. Muda suraugais tvamudara sammadaihi. So put a visarga and comma. Next line, the ru becomes a u. Udirya damodara ityabhishtutah. Mridudaraha. Put a is to join. Mridudaras swairam ulukhale lagan. Put a in at the end of that line, comma, lagan, comma. If you have an in and a na in Sanskrit in the next line, it becomes a a sound. Adurato dvau kakubhavu daikshataha. That's one word, kakubhavu daikshataha. Muda suraughaistvamudhara sammadhaihi udiryadamodarayithyabhishtutah mridudara swairamulukhale laganne adurato dvau kakubhavu daikshataha.
मुदासुरौघैस्त्वमुदारसम्मदैः उदीर्यदामोदर इत्यभिष्टुतः मृदूदरस्वैर उलूखले लगन् उदूरतो द्वौ ककुभावुदैक्षथाः.
Last line, Usha. Sound. Adurato dvau.
Adurato द्वौ. Okay. मुदासुरौघैस्त्वमुदारसम्मदैः उदीर्यदामोदर इत्यभिष्टुतः मृदूदरस्वैरमुलूखले लगन् अदूरतो द्वौ ककुभावुदैक्षताः.
मुदासुरौघैस्त्वमुदारसम्मदैः उदीर्यदामोदर इत्यभिष्टुताः मृदूदरस्वैरम् उलूखले लगन् अदूरतो द्वौ ककुभावुदैक्षताः. मुदासुरौघैस्त्वमुदारसम्मदैः उदीर्यदामोदर इत्यभिष्टुताः मृदूदरस्वैरमुलूखले लगन् अदूरतो द्वौ ककुभावुदैक्षताः.
Answer 2. Kubera sunur nalakubarabhidah paro manigriva ite pratam gatah mahesha sevadhigata shriyon madhau chiram kilatvat vimukha vakhelatam. So we'll see who these two trees are or what are these two trees, right? So like I don't know if I said before, so when you say Kailasha, which we say is in the Himalayas, Nepal region, that is the earthly representation of Kailasha. The actual Kailasha is it's different abode. So in that Kailasha, which is in a different spiritual plane, so there were two big devotees of Shiva. So they were the sons of Kubera. So their names were Nalakubara and Manigriva. So that's where Kubera Sunur, first line. Nalakubara Adivaha. Second line, Paro Manigriva. So those are the two names, Nalakubara and Manigriva. So they were great devotees of Shiva. And they were very powerful, right? So they were in Kailasha. So what they used to do was they were just completely they had so much power, so much opulence and wealth and everything that they were just completely going in wrong ways, that they were always drunk with this Varuni, with liquor, and then they were always spending time with the women, and they were just wandering in the gardens of the regions of Kailasha, always intoxicated, right? So because of that, they started deviating away from the path that they were in and started going into wrong ways. Kubera Sunur Nalakubarabhidah, Paro Manigriva iti pratam gatah Mahesh Sevadigata Shriyonmadau, Chiram Kila Tvad Vimukhava Kelatam. That's one word. Vimukhava Kelatam. Kuberasунur Nalakubarabhidah Paro Manigriva iti pratham gatah Mahesha Sevadhigata Shriyonmadau Chiram Kila Tvad Vimukhava Kelatam.
कुबेरसूनुर्नलकूबराभिदः परो मनुग्रीव इति प्रथां गतः महेशसेवाधिगतः श्रियोन्मदौ चिरं किल त्वद्विमुखावकेलताम् कुबेरसूनुर्नलकूबराभिदः परो मणिग्रीव इति प्रथां गतः महेशसेवाधिगतः श्रियोन्मदौ चिरं किल त्वद्विमुखावकेलताम्
कुबेरसूनुर्नलकूबराभिदः परो मणिग्रीव इति प्रतां गतः महेशसेवाधिगतश्रियोन्मदौ चिरं किल त्वद्विमुखावकेलताम् कुबेरसूनुर्नलकूबराभिदः परो मणिग्रीव इति प्रतां गतः महेशसेवाधिगतश्रियोन्मदौ चिरं किल त्वद्विमुखावकेलताम्.
Surapagayam kilatau madotkatau surapagayat bahuyauvatavritau vivasa saukeli parau sanaradho bhavat padaika pravano niraikshata. So this Nalakubra and Manigriva, one time, they were all highly drunk and intoxicated, and they, along with a few other female companions, were all completely naked, and they were all bathing in the Ganges, which is there in Kailasha, right? So in that, so that's what it says. Just because you take a dip in Ganges doesn't make you completely blessed, right? You have to have the right intentions. In their case, they were all completely drunk, and then they were all playing in the waters of the Ganges. So when that was happening, at the time, sage Narada happens to come there by chance. And he sees that these people are all completely intoxicated. They were all just, first of all, you're not supposed to get into the waters naked. We'll see one more incident when this is going to happen. But they get in there, and Narada sees that they're all just singing and, dancing and playing in the waters of the Ganges and polluting it. And Narada sees them, but they don't see him. Surapagayam Kila tau madotkatau, surapa gayat bahu yauvatavritau vivasasau keli parau sa narado, bhavat padaika pravano niraikshata. This is Narada, who's only devoted to your feet, who's always devoted to you. Surapagayam kilatau madotkatau Surapagayat bahuyauvatavritau Vivasasau keli parau sanarado Bhavat padaika pravano niraikshata.
Rajesh.
सुरापगायां किल तौ मदोत्कटौ सुरापगायद् बहुयौवतावृतौ विवाससौ केलिपरौ स नारदौ भवत्पदैक प्रवणो निरैक्षत. सुरापगायां किल तौ मदोत्कटौ सुरापगायद् बहुयौवतावृतौ विवाससौ केलिपरौ न स नारदो भवत्पदैकप्रवणो निरैक्षत.
Make somebody a question. Yeah.
And the third line,
Mm.
Vivasau Keli Parausa Naradaha போட்டிருக்கு. நாரதஹ சொல்லாமா இல்லை நாரதா?
Narado, you just change it to Narado. Normally, and sometimes they put a visarga, sometimes it ends with a O. It means the same thing. So yeah, Narado.
Okay.
सुरापगायां किल तौ मदोत्कटौ सुरापगायात् बहुयौवताव्रतौ विवाससौ केलिपरौ स नारदो भवत्पदैकप्रवणो निरैक्षत.
The first line, first word, Surapagayam. Oh, sorry, not that one. I think the last word, Madotkatau, ta sound. Madotkatau.
Madotkatau. Okay.
Yeah, katau, yeah.
सुरापगायां किल तौ मदोत्कटौ सुरापगायात् बहुयौवताव्रतौ विवाससौ केलिपरौ स नारदो भवत्पदैकप्रवणो निरैक्षत.
And the word Tirimbi. And the first, when it coming, it's a da sound, DH sound. Adukapram is a ta sound. So,
Madotkatau.
Madotkatau.
Yeah.
Okay.
As soon as I say that, I realized, yeah,
And the
Madotkatau.
second line, Surapagayad.
Gayad. Thank you.
भिया प्रियालोकमुपातवाससं पुरो निरीक्ष्यापि मधान्धचेतसौ इमौ भवद्भक्त्युपशान्तिसिद्धये मुनिर्जगौ शान्तिमृते कुतः सुखम्. So the moment, they saw Narada, the women first see Narada. So they realize that, that they know they're all drunk and then they're all hanging out there. And they see that Narada, the first thing they do is they just instantly run away from there. They get out of the water, they cover themselves, they run away from there. But this Nalakubra and Manigriva, who are just so intoxicated, who feel they're very powerful, right? They're the sons of Kubera, they had access to Lord Shiva. So they felt like they're very powerful. They just didn't care about what was happening there. And the fact that Narada was there, they continue to remain there. So with that, it's questioning. So for people who are not devoted, Shanti Mrite Kuta Sukham, the people who do not have this calmness of mind and who are not devoted, where will there be Sukham? Where will there be happiness for them? Bhiya Priya Lokam Upata Vasasam, Puro Nirikshapi Madhanda Chetaso. Madha Andha. So blinded with intoxication. So Madhanda Chetaso. Imau Bhavat Bhaktyupa Shanti Siddhaye, Munir Jagau Shanti Mrite Kutaha Putta is Kutas Sukham. Bhiya Priya Lokamupata Vasasam Puro Nirikshapi Madandha Chetasau Imau Bhavat Bhaktyupashanti Siddhaye Munir Jagau Shanti Mrite Kuthas Sukham.
Bhiya Priya Lokamupatavasam Puro Nirikshapi Madandha Chetasau Imau Bhavat Bhaktyupashanti Siddhaye Munirjagau Shanti Mrite Kutas Sukham.
Usha, I think maybe your orientation changed. Your voice is not coming out clear this time.
Oh. Dhiya Priya Lokamupatavasasam Puro Nirikshapi Madandha Chetasau Imau Bhavat Bhaktyupashanti Siddhaye Munirjagau Shanti Mrite Kruta Sukham.
Bhiya Priya Lokamupatavasasam Puro Nirikshapi Madanda Chetasau Imau Bhavat Bhaktyupashanti Siddhaye Munirjagau Shanti Mrite Kuta Sukham. Bhiya Priya Lokamupatavasasam Puro Nirikshapi
मदान्धचेतसौ इमौ भवद्भक्त्युपशान्तिसिद्धये मुनिर्जगौ शान्तिमृते कुतः सुखम्.
That's fine. Yuvamavaptau kakubhatmatam chiram harim nirikshata padam swamapnutam iti ritau thau bhavadikshana spriham gatau vrajante kakubhau bhabhuvatuhu. So, anytime, like I said, anytime Narada is coming, the only advantage you're going to have is he's going to divert you in the right path. So here Narada says that you all are just so intoxicated, you completely lost your primary things that you had, right? And you completely deviated away from the path you need to go, right? And he says amongst all the material, anything you can have for attachment, material things, he says the worst thing to have is extra money. He says the moment one has extra money, extra wealth, he says what happens is it's better than even having bodily features. You could be beautiful, you could be born in a very famous family, you could have been very knowledgeable. He says all of those are still fine. But the person who always has a lot of money is always very easy chance they're going to get distracted, right? Because they feel like they have power, right? And they can do whatever they want because they can accomplish all. This is what Narada is telling them, right? He's saying because of this, you all have gone in the wrong ways because you all are very wealthy and you have a lot of power. He says the only way for you to realize this is to always be in the opposite state, right? So, for example, a wealthy person will never know the sufferings of a beggar. They cannot even imagine, right? The only way they'll know this is by being a beggar, right? So he says the way, because you all are not respecting. And in Tamil, there is a statement, they say, Maram Mari Nikara. Like what that means is you're standing like a tree means you are not caring to whatever is happening around you. You are just standing, right? The whole world will be falling apart, but you are not seem to be affected by it, right? So he says, since you are not even realizing that a great person has come and you're not respecting and you're also naked, you are going to become two trees. Because that's what trees are. They're going to just stand naked. The whole world something could be happening. The trees will just stay fixed in one place. And he says, this is not a curse. This is only for your own realization, because eventually, when you are there, you will eventually meet Hari in Dwapara Yuga, and then you will get liberated, and then you'll come back to this state. So this is a time, and a little bit more is going to come in the next stanza. So I'll tell you what the other benefit is going to give. Yuvamavaptau kakubhatmatam chiram, harim niriksyata padam swamapnutam iti ritau tau bhavadikshana spriham, gatau brajante kakubhau bhabhuvatuhu.
Rajesh, the second line split சொல்லுங்க one more time.
The harim
Idiri
ritau tau bhavadikshana spriham. Yuvamavaptau kakubhatmatam chiram harim niriksyata padam swamapnutam iti ritau tau bhavadikshana spriham gatau vrajante kakubhau bhabhuvatuhu.
युवामवाप्तौ ककुभात्मतां चिरं हरिं निरीक्ष्याथ पदं स्वमाप्नुतम् इति ऋतौ तौ भवदीक्षणस्पृहां गतौ व्रजान्ते ककुभौ बभूवतुः. युवामवाप्तौ ककुभात्मतां चिरं हरिं निरीक्ष्याथ पदं स्वमाप्नुतम् इति ऋतौ तौ भवदीक्षणस्पृहां गतौ व्रजान्ते ककुभौ बभूवतुः.
युवामवाप्तु ककुभात्मतां चिरं हरिं निरीक्ष्यात पदं स्वमाप्नुतम् इति ऋतौ तौ भवदीक्षणा स्पृहां गतौ व्रजान्ते ककुभौ बभूवतुः.
And the third line, bhavadikshana, not a na sound, just na.
Na. युवामवाप्तौ ककुबात्मतां चिरं हरिं निरीक्ष्यात पदं स्वमाप्नुतम् इतीरितौ तौ भवदीक्षणा स्पृहां गतौ व्रजान्ते ककुभौ बभूवतुः.
Again, you said na there. Bhavadi Kshanna Spriham.
Yeah, I have an English textbook, so that's where I'm missing the tha and the na.
Yeah, make that. I think the
Yeah,
best way is when there is a ah sound, then you put an extra a, then to say
yeah.
this ah, you know.
Mm.
Answer 6. Atandramindradruyugam tatha vidham sameyusha mantharagaminha tvaya tirayuto lukhala nirdhutau chiraya jirnau paripatitau taru. So then they become the two trees. Nalak Kubra Manikriva become the two trees. Now, like I said long time back, one of those things that everything in this universe has the same consciousness, Paramatma inside of it. But the way it has different capabilities are different. So even in the smallest of a stone or the smallest of the subatomic particle, there is a consciousness, right? Similarly, the trees also have consciousness, animals also have consciousness, we also have consciousness. Each of it is just at a different levels of consciousness, right? So here, the blessing that Narada is giving them is, although you both are going to become trees, which normally do not have any memory like we do, or even some animals have memories. He says the trees don't have memories, but you both are going to have memories. You both are going to have the memory of what you did and why you have become a tree. So later on, when Hari comes and you will be liberated, you will realize why you got liberated from that state and what you actually did. So this doesn't happen again, right? So that pride goes away. So that is the blessing that Narada gives, because of which they become those two trees, which are then sitting in Nandagopa's compound. Now we'll come back to we'll come forward to Dwapara Yuga, right? So where now Krishna is now looking from his house, and then he's seeing these two trees there. And he says, I have nothing to do with those two trees, right? They are not even my butt. My greatest devotee Narada has said that I have to go rescue these two people, right? I have to liberate them from being trees so that they can return back to their respective worlds, right? So it's my duty in this avataram to go free them out. So with that, Krishna then he starts dragging that mortar that he's tied into towards those two trees. He goes outside the house, goes to the compound, he goes in there, and then he tries to walk between those two trees, and the mortar turns over, like it is straight like this, it flips over, and so the mortar gets stuck between those two trees, and with that he just gives a pull, and the two trees end up crashing down. So Atandram Indra Druyugam Tatha Vidham, Sameyusha Manthara Gamina Tvaya Tirayutolukala. So it's one word. Ulukala word buried in there. Tirayutolukala Rodha Nirdhutau, Chiraya Jirnau Paripatitau Taru long u. Atandramindra Druyugam Tatha Vidham Samhi Yusha Mantaragamina Tvaya Tirayito Lukhala Rodha Nirdhutau Chiraya Jirnau Paripatitau Taru.
अतन्द्रमिन्द्रद्रुयुगं तथाविधं समेयुषा मन्थरगामिना त्वया तिरायितो लूखलरोध निर्धुतौ चिराय जीर्णौ परिपातितौ तरु अतन्द्रमिन्द्रद्रुयुगं तथाविधं समेयुषा मन्थरगामिना त्वया तिरायितो लूखलरोधनिर्धुतौ चिराय जीर्णौ परिपातितौ तरु.
अतन्द्रमिन्द्रद्रुयुगं तथाविधं समेयुषा मन्तरगामिना त्वया तिरायितो लूकलरोधनिर्धुतौ चिराय जीर्णौ परिपातितौ तरु अतन्द्रमिन्द्रद्रुयुगं तथाविधं समेयुषा मन्तरगामिना त्वया तीरायितो लूकलरोदनिर्दुतौ क्षीराय जीर्णौ परिपातितौ तरु.
7. अभाजिशाकिद्वितयं यथा त्वया तदैव तद्गर्भतलानिरेयुषा महात्विषा यक्षयुगेन तत्क्षणात् अभाजि गोविन्द भवानपि स्तवैः. So with that, the two trees came out from the root, right? So garbha means from the bottom, the roots of the trees, both the trees actually fell down. So this is called as Damodara Leela. Some different Leelas of Krishna. This is Damodara Leela because he's Damodara here, right? And then so from when the two trees fell down, then from those two trees came two beings who were like extremely illuminated, very shiny beings who actually came out, who are the Yakshas. So the Yakshas are the sons of Kuberas, right? So these Yakshas, there's two Yakshas, Nalakuvara, Manigriva come, and then next stanza, they are actually going to do a stuti to Krishna, but they both come out of it. They're finally getting liberated from being trees. Abhaji Shaki Dvitayam Yada Tvaya, Tadaiva Tad Garbha Talan Nireyusha. You can make it as Talan Nireyusha. Mahatvisha Yaksha Yugena Takshanat. Put a it, comma. Next time the da becomes a. Abhaji Govinda Bhavanapi Stavaihi. Although the word Govinda is used here, Krishna has not been named Govinda yet. That's going to come only in 62, 63 Dashakam. At that time, I'll tell you the meaning of it there. Abhaji Shakidvitayam yada tvaya tadaiva tadgarbhatala nireyusha mahatvisha yaksha yugena takshanate Abhaji Govinda Bhavanapi stavaihi.
अभाजिशाखिद्वितयं यदा त्वया तदैव तद्गर्भतलान्निरेयुषा महात्विषा यक्षयुगेन तत्क्षणात् अभाजि गोविन्द भवानपि स्तवैः. अभाजिशाखिद्वितयं यदा त्वया तदैव तद्गर्भतलान्निरेयुषा महात्विषा यक्षयुगेन तत्क्षणात् अभाजि गोविन्द भवानि स्तवैः.
Bhavanapi stavaihi.
अभाजि गोविन्द भवानपि स्तवैः.
अभाजिशाकीद्वितयं यदा त्वया तदैव तद्गर्भतलान्निरेयुषा महात्विषा यक्षयुगेन तत्क्षणात् अभाजि गोविन्द भवनापि स्तवैः.
Bhavan, last line. Bhavanapi stavaihi.
भवानपि स्तवैः. अभाजिशाकिद्वितयं यदा त्वया तदैव तद्गर्भतलान्निरेयुषा महात्विषा यक्षयुगेन तत्क्षणात् अभाजि गोविन्द भवनापि स्तवैः.
And the word again. Bhavanapi stavaihi.
भवानपि स्तवैः.
Sounds like Ihanya bhaktopi sameshyate kramat bhavantametau khalu rudra sevakau muni prasadat bhavadangrimagatau gatau vrinanau khalu bhakti muttamam. So with that, when Manigriva, Nalakubara come, so they then do a stuti to Krishna saying that, we were on the right path. And then, of course, with pride and everything, we got distorted, right? We went on the wrong path. But thanks to Narada Muni, we got blessed to now get cursed to be born as trees, because then we realized our mistake. And more importantly, we got an opportunity to see, Hari as Krishna in this Dwapara Yugam. And Krishna says, that's right. The great people like Narada Muni, they never want bad things for anybody. So when they are actually giving these things, it is only to put you on the right path, right? It might look like it is bad on the surface, but it is always to improve you. So with that, anyway, Krishna says, I'm blessed. The blessings to you are, you will always remain devoted to me, because that is what Nalakubra and Manigriva want. So Bhaktim Uttamam, you will always remain as the greatest of my devotees. So with that, they get liberated from being trees and they go back to being Yakshas who are in Kailasha at this point. Ihanya bhaktopi sameshyati kramat, Bhavantametau Khalu Rudra Sevakau Muni Prasadat Bhavadangrim, breaking at that ma, Bhavadangrim Agatau, comma, Gatau Vrinanau Khalu Bhaktim Uttamam. Usha, did I just say one time? We'll finish it off. Yeah.
Kramat, kramatva, kramadva. இங்க இது
Ta.
போட்டு
Ta. First ta. First Sanskrit, first ta. Kramat. Ihanya bhaktopi samishyati kramat bhavantametau khalu rudra sevakau muni prasadat bhavadangrimagatau gatau vrinanau khalu bhaktimuttamam.
इहान्यभक्तोऽपि समेष्यति क्रमाद् भवन्तमेतौ खलु रुद्रसेवकौ मुनिप्रसादात् भवदङ्घ्रिमागतौ गतौ प्रणानौ खलु भक्तिम् उत्तमाम्.
Usha, again, the first line, last word, kramat, first ta, it.
Okay.
And then the last one, gato vrinanau, that word.
इहान्यभक्तोऽपि समेष्यति क्रमात् भवन्तमेतौ खलु रुद्रसेवकौ मुनिप्रसादात् भवदङ्घ्रिम् आगतौ गतौ वृणानौ खलु भक्तिमुत्तमाम्.
That's a 9. Tatastaru dharana darunarava prakampi sampati nigopamandale vilajjita tvajjanani mukhekshina vyamokshinandena bhavan vimokshadaha. So when this big 2 trees fell, it creates a loud noise because massive size trees. So immediately everybody come rushing there, and then they see that these big 2 trees, which were the identity for Nandagopa's compound, has been fallen. And they see that there's a small boy stuck, he's just standing between those 2 fallen trees, and he has his ulukala bound under him. So everybody remembers, how is it that this boy seems to escape all of these things? These 2 massive trees have fallen, but nothing has happened to the boys. So they immediately go rescue that, and then Nandagopa sees, and he sees that Krishna is tied to a mortar. So he gets even more upset. He says, who will tie a small 3-year-old boy to a mortar like that, right? And then, he then frowns on Yashoda to say, how can you even do this to your child? Small 3-year-old baby, she never expected him to go anyways. But anyway, so with that, they all keep wondering, how did this happen? And a little bit continues the next stanza. So with that, they finally rescue the child from there. Tatas Tarud Dharana. So it's a double da there. Tarud Dharana Darunarava plus Prakampi Sampatini Gopa Mandale. So those 2 lines together. Vilajjita Tvaj, ij sound, Tvaj Janani Mukhekshina, comma, Vyamokshi Nandena Bhavan Vimokshadaha. Tatastaru dharana darunarava prakampi sampati nigopamandale vilajjita tvajjanani mukhekshina vyamokshinandena bhavan vimokshadaha.
ततस्तरुद्धारण दारुणारव प्रकम्पि सम्पातिनि गोपमण्डले विलज्जितत्वज्जननि क्षिणा व्यामोक्षिनन्देन भवान् विमोक्षदः.
तस्तूरधारन दारुणा
Tatastaru
ततस्तरुदारन दारुणारव प्रकम्पि सम्पातिनि गोपमण्डले विलजितत्वज्जननी मुखेक्षिणा व्यमोक्षिनन्देन भवान् विमोक्षदः.
And the second line or third line, however you have it, the first word, vilajjita. Ij and ja. Lajja. So she is feeling ashamed. So vilajjita. Okay.
Vilajjit.
ராஜேஷ் அந்த 8ல வந்து கத்தோ வ்ரு போடணுமா அந்த நெக்ஸ்ட் வேர்ட்?
ஆமா, கத்தௌ பிருணானௌ
போட்டுருக்கு என்னோட புக்ல.
பிருணானௌ.
ஓகே
ஓகே. That's it. Mahi ruhor madhya gato batat bhako हरेः प्रभावात् अपरीक्षतोऽधुना इति ब्रुवाणैर्गमितो गृहं भवान् मरुत्पुराधीश्वर पाहि मां गतात्. So when these gopas are discussing how can this happen, like in all the cases, the small kids, they always get to witness everything. They're going to see everything that happens with Krishna somehow. So they say that we know exactly how it happened. Krishna was tied to the mortar. He kept dragging the mortar. He came in between those two trees. He walked through it. The two trees fell down. Then we saw two light come out of that, and then they disappeared. And then these people are like, okay, how can that be possible? How can like a small boy come in and push these two big trees out there, right? It's like impossible. So nobody believes those stories, right? And then they say somehow it's because of Hare Prabhavat. It is because of the blessings of Hari that nothing is happening to this child, and the child is actually rescued as always, and everything is fine. So with that, this one comes to an end. Oh Guru Vairappa, please Pahimam Gadat, please eradicate all my ailments. Mahi Ruhor Madhya Gato Batardhako, Harehe, put a F, Haref Prabhavat. So the da that is there, we're going to break it into a it and a. Prabhavat Aparikshatoodhuna iti Bruvanair Gamito Griham Bhavan, Marutpuradhishwara Pahimam Gadat. Mahi Ruhor Madhyagato Batardhako Hareh Prabhavat Aparikshatoodhuna ite Bruvanair Gamito Griham Bhavan Marutpuradhishwara Pahimam Gadat.
महीरुहोर्मध्यगतो बतार्भको हरे प्रभावात् अपरीक्षतोऽधुना इति ब्रुवाणैर्गमितो गृहं भवान् मरुत्पुराधीश्वर पाहि मां गदान्.
Gadat it last.
Gadat, okay.
महीरुहोर्मध्यगतो बतार्भको हरेः प्रभावात् अपरीक्षतोऽधुना इति ब्रुवाणैर्गमितो गृहं भवान् मरुत्पुराधीश्वर पाहि मां गदात्.
Krishnaya Parabrahmane Namaha. Sandhanandhavabodhatmakamanupamitam kalajeshavadibhyam nirmuktam nityamuktam nigamashatasahasrena nirbhasyamanam aspashtam drashtamatre punarurpurushartatmakam brahmatattvam tattavadbhati sakshat gurupavanapure hanta bhagyam janadham कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियैर्वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि.
Thank you, Rajesh. Thank you.
Thank you, Rajesh.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rajesh.
Bye.